The Straight Red Card is sponsored by Roughneck Scarves. Visit Roughneck Scarves for your supporters' gear from Seattle, Portland, New York, to the Philadelphia Union, and anything MLS to the English Premier League. Visit Roughneck Scarves at roughneckscarves.com. Here in Indy, so we're going to move on to viewer questions, Bruce. All right, great. I have received a few questions, and one of them was, will MLS expand past 20 teams regardless of FIFA regulations / guidelines? Because currently, of course, we have 18 teams. And if they do go past 20 teams, will MLS get in trouble with FIFA? So that was that's the viewer question.
Well, I'll give one-word answers to both of them, and then we'll expand. First answer is yes, they will go past 20 teams. Mm-hmm. And the second answer is no, they won't get in trouble with FIFA.
Yep. Well,
what do you guys think?
We're going to agree with you on both. Number one, we've had direct contact with MLS, and they've told us they're going past 20 teams. And number two, FIFA, they're willing to bend over backwards at this point to make sure that soccer is somewhat of a success in North America. Thus, we have a bunch of Canadian teams already playing in the MLS, which wouldn't necessarily be something that FIFA would bend and do for, let's say, unless you're Cardiff playing, in the English Premier League or the lower levels of English soccer. But it's typically not something they would do. So I think whatever we want to do, as long as it's within reason, I think we can do it. I mean, we're a huge country. 24 teams for the United States, that's nothing, right?
No, because North America's got the same population as Europe, so they want to limit Europe to 20 teams?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to.
That'd be a pretty strong league, though.
It would be a very good league. It'd be really good to watch. I would like that. The other thing too is the more teams we can put in, it could get closer and closer to that dream that many people have about promotion and relegation.
Yeah.
And we've already read. I've read somewhere that Garber's actually mentioned expanding to 24 teams.
Right.
And then we heard last MLS Cup of him mentioning the simulated relegation and promotion.
But no one will talk about that, Brett.
Yeah.
No one talks about that. He said simulated relegation, and no one will ever respond or even talk about what does that mean. You know what I mean? What the hell simulated?
You put the word simulation in there, you start to get yourself in trouble, don't you?
Yeah, I think so. And I think Garber we thought Garber had got himself in trouble by saying the words simulated relegation, that they were considering that. Apparently, Brett and I were the only ones that have that on VHS or DVD-R.
Well, everything we've heard from people from MLS have mentioned that they just don't question the Don. They just, whatever he says goes,
I would never question the man.
So we've come up with these theories, Bruce, that once we're at 24 teams, what they're going to do, theoretically, is there's going to be a 14-team MLS 1, all right? And then there's going to be a 10-team MLS 2, and that's going to be the start of what they call simulated relegation. However, the first-place team in the bottom level of that 10, the bottom 10 teams, they're going to also make the playoffs, as well as the winner of the Cup. The U.S. Open Cup. So there you have two teams making the playoffs in a proposed, 8-team playoff system, who are outside of that top 14 teams. So anyhow, that was just, some rumors and some things we've heard, but that is all I can come up with so far with what simulated relegation might mean in Don Garber's mind.
It sounds to me like you guys are ready to become co-commissioners as soon as he retires.
We're working on it.
Yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like to me.
We're just trying to make some sense of what the Don says. That's all we can do.
Or are you just trying to stir the pot? Which one is it?
Well, sometimes we're trying to stir the pot, and other times we're just speaking out loud and trying to make some sense of what the hell that means. And the problem is we get so many little tidbits from here and there and here and there that we try to put them all together in one big piece. And so we do our best to kind of piece it together, but it doesn't always work. But anyhow, go ahead.
My feeling is this. If I look back 30 years ago where soccer was in America and where it is today, I can't even imagine where it's going to be 30 years from now.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it. To me, everything's possible.
Right.
All don't bet on anything because everything's on the table.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I love that. I think it's awesome.
And yeah, I mean, it is awesome because you just don't know what's going to happen from day to day. And, you know, we went back and we did our history and we realized that there were leagues back in the 70s and 60s and 50s that fell apart as they were developing because they wanted to develop some sort of promotion and relegation system in the United States. And because of that argument, those leagues split up and went in different ways. So you just never know what's going to happen in soccer in the United States. Yep.
Well, that'd be my big question is, I mean, let's just say Minnesota gets, if we go to 2014, let's say Minnesota gets a 24th team. How are you going to convince the ownership who just ponied up, say, $40 million that, you know, next year we're going to implement a relegation and promotion system, and you might be in the second division of MLS? The owners might not be too happy.
Unless they're sharing revenue.
That's a good point.
And it doesn't matter to them.
That's what I've been saying, Bruce.
But I do think you're right, though. I mean, because even if they're sharing revenue, it still hampers them for the future. They're going to have to work extra hard to get back up. Mm-hmm. You know, if we're talking about a situation where they're actually all turning profits, it becomes an easier discussion. But, you know, I can't imagine many of them are still making money, or not still, but have ever made money at this point. So that's why I don't see it happening now.
Yeah. But in the end, Bruce, don't you think if a team, even if it's stuck in MLS 2, if you will, and they have there's the realization that they're going to possibly be one of the top 10 teams and move up to MLS 1, that the fans are still going to turn out. The fans are still going to be excited. The fans are still going to be cheering them on all season long to get into those top 2 positions, and it changes the mentality that we have now in the lower leagues in United States soccer.
It's possible. And for myself, what I honestly envision before that happening is there being bigger conferences, and those conferences being a little more separated than they are now. Not unlike the NFL or the NFC and the AFC in football, and the different, you know, the East and the West and the NBA and all those kind of things, where you would play the teams in your own conference with more frequency, and that you would play a playoff system within your own conference, and then those teams would face off for a championship. I love the idea of the balanced schedule, but as it gets bigger and bigger, there's no possible way that's going to happen.
Yeah, especially.
So I see that happening long before there's ever any MLS 1, MLS 2 promotion relegation. I see them going to bigger and bigger conferences. I mean, why don't we just have 2 20-team conferences? Mm-hmm. And, each conference plays a full schedule against just the people in their conference, and then the 2 teams meet at the end for the final. I don't know. Maybe that's it.
That sounds pretty exciting to me.
It's a little extreme, but you never know.
Yeah. I mean, there's no way they're going to make it the top 8 from each. We'll play in some playoff system, and then we'll have a final.
Yeah,
but
you're right.
But I like it. I like the idea because we're certainly, if things keep blooming the way they're blooming, and we continue to pick the right cities to, have MLS teams rise and out of the ashes, if you will, then I think you can have 20. You can have 40 teams. There's nothing stopping that from happening.
I think they've still done a really great job of weeding out owners that aren't legitimate. St. Louis being the best example, because we heard for a long time that St. Louis was ready to go, and MLS kept saying not quite. And then that team went into the second division last year, and they went bankrupt in the second division.
Yeah. Well, there's a team that basically wanted to set things up because of some sort of. Listen, St. Louis got a great history in soccer, but that doesn't mean right now they have a great history in soccer, or that history is relevant anymore. And I think what happened is it lost its relevancy along the way, and people just didn't show up for the games. There was no one there. Now, those crowds were bare.
Well, partially that because the team owners never told the public there was a team there to go see.
Yeah, that's kind of a problem, isn't it?
That doesn't help.
Not at all.
All right.